Not a bad fish, y'all. Not a bad way to start at all. Fred paddle tail on that Z-Man Pro Shrooms jig head. Fred the Ned.
Have you ever struggled to catch fish whenever the bite gets tough in the wintertime? Well, this popular bass technique can oftentimes save the day. It's called the Ned rig. I'm going to show you what it is, how to rig it, how to use it, and when to use it. Now let's get right to it. In case you're unfamiliar with what the Ned rig is, that is going to be this right here. It's a little tiny soft piece of plastic right here. It's only 2.5 to 3.5 inches long. It's rigged on a mushroom jig head. And what makes this so great is it really is the epitome of simplicity. And what happens oftentimes in the winter, whenever that water temperature gets at its coldest, these fish don't feel like chasing down lures. So what happens is you need something that's going to stay right in their face. Oftentimes what happens is people will use live bait in this situation, but a lure like this can really work well. And again, all it is just a small piece of plastic. But what happens is this lure will actually stand up at rest, so you don't even have to work it. You can actually dead stick it or move it as slow as possible so it stays in that fish's face the longest. And what happens is these fish right here, they might not want to chase anything down, but whenever you have a little morsel like this hanging around right in front of their face, it's really hard for them to resist something like that. So this really shines in those toughest times of the year. Now, this happens to be the Z-Man TRD, which is basically a 2.75 inch stick bait, and it's made out of that TPE material, which is that strong stretchy material. But it doesn't have to be that particular lure. Matter of fact, shrimp lures work really good in this situation. This is our Brazilian prawn that we have in the junior size, but really what you want is you want a 2.5 inch to 3.5 inch lure, and you want it on a mushroom jig head, so that way when it's on the bottom, it's going to stand up just like this. Now what happens is whenever that lure stands up like this, that current is actually going to move that bait around and really call those fish in. It looks really natural, and it is something that the fish really can't resist. So I'm going to show you how to rig up a Ned rig. Now the great thing about the Ned rig is its simplicity. So not only is this a simple rig to use, it's also a simple rig to rig up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out using my Pro Shrooms jig head. Now this one happens to be a 1/10 ounce in the Pro Shrooms. I will commonly use 1/10 and 6 ounce. This just happens to be a 1/10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and insert the hook into my Z-Man TRD. This stands for the real deal. This is a basic 2.75 inch stick bait. It's made out of the TPE material, so it's strong, it's tough, it's durable, but what's really cool about this is it's buoyant, so it actually floats. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that hook point, I'm going to put it right down the center of that body of that lure, and I'm going to push the lure up onto that hook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure it stays center. It stays center left to right and up and down, so it doesn't have any weird shape to it whenever I'm done. And what I'm going to do is keep on pushing it until that lure is right at that bend where it just starts to point down, and then I'll take the hook point and I'll go out the back of that lure, and then I'll just wind up pushing that all the way up onto that hook, and then just kind of straighten it up. And that's it. That is the basic rig right there. That is the TRD Z-Man Ned rig, but you can use other lures. We also have this rigged on our prawn lure. This is the Brazilian prawn that's made out of that same TPE material, but as you can tell, it's that same jig head. It's just a different type of lure, but the idea is you want to make sure and just use some small plastic lures. So how we're going to retrieve this lure is just a series of hops. Now, the amount of hops, the length of those pauses is really going to be dependent on the mood of the fish. Let them tell you that. But as a good rule, the stronger that cold front that has come through, the more lethargic the fish are going to be, and the slower you're going to work that lure. Now, the Ned rig actually also works really good as a sight fishing lure too. So whenever those fish move up to the shallows to feed, this works really good. But I really do think the time that the Ned rig really shines is whenever these fish are at their most lethargic. They get down in those deeper holes and they're waiting for that water to warm up and they don't want to move. You can just keep this right on the bottom in front of their face, and it's something that's hard for them to refuse. Now, my favorite jig heads to use on these is going to be the Z-Man Pro Shrooms. I use the 1/10 of an ounce whenever the water depth is less than 4 feet, and I'll use a 1/6 of an ounce if it's more than 4 feet deep. And the plastics that I like to use is something simple. So either the TRD like this one here, a shrimp imitation, or even a small paddle tail like our 2.0 that we have with the tail pinched off works excellent when it comes to Ned rigging. Now for you insiders, we do have a mini course on the Ned rig, so if you want to learn more about that, I'll put the link down below and make sure to watch it. With that being said, having the right lure and the right technique is important, but it's not the most important thing when it comes to catching inshore fish. The most important thing is being at the right place at the right time. If you are struggling on catching fish this wintertime, it could be a number of reasons, and we need to address that. And that's what we do here at Salt Strong, is we can help you with that. We have a four-prong approach. The first one is going to be Smart Spots that tells you where you should be fishing. The next one is going to be the insider community that has reports in there that tells you what's going on in your area right here and right now. And we also have thousands of videos that if you have any questions when it comes to inshore fishing, you can find the answers in those. And lastly, we have fishstrong.com, where we have the correct tackle that you need that's going to help you catch more fish. And the tackle that's at fishstrong.com has been vetted by us, so you don't have to worry about if it produces fish or not. Everything in there is stuff that we use personally. Right now, we have a special offer to become an insider. For just $10 a month, you will have access to all of this information. Plus, we're going to send you $50 worth of merchandise for free. Now, if this is not a fit for you, we do not make you jump through hoops when it comes to cancellation. You can cancel at any time, and you get to keep the merchandise that we send you. So if you're struggling on catching fish this winter, I highly recommend that you join us. We can help you out. And to get that special $10 a month offer, the link is in the description.